Have you ever been complimented on something? An outfit, a decision, a way of being, and deep down thought, this isn't even me? As highly sensitive women, we're often praised for versions of ourselves we carefully constructed to keep the peace, gain approval, or fit in. But what happens when the life you're living doesn't actually feel like yours? Today, I'm peeling back the layers of people-pleasing and performance to help you reconnect with the real you, the one who's been there all along. You'll learn simple, grounding ways to tune into what's true for you and begin becoming who you've always been. Hey lady, welcome to the Highly Sensitive Woman podcast. Do you struggle with self-doubt, setting boundaries, or feeling overwhelmed? My name is Alyssa, and I'm a highly sensitive woman who spent years trying to fit in, ignoring my own needs, and living in constant fear of disappointing others. But I finally discovered the power of embracing who I am, and now I don't feel so broken. In this podcast, you'll learn to find your voice, set boundaries, and live with bold confidence and inner peace. Grab a cozy blanket. It's time to connect with someone just like you. I cannot believe this is episode 25 of The Highly Sensitive Woman, and I am just blown away by the response that all of you have been giving. Thank you so much. And if you haven't shared this with a friend, please do, because we need more highly sensitive women to show up as their authentic selves, because we have so much value to give to this world. And it really is amazing what happens when we show up as ourselves. I recently wore an item of clothing that was given to me, and everywhere I went that day, I got lots of compliments on it, and there was one person who even said to me, "It's so you." Seems really sweet, doesn't it? Someone seeing me, affirming me, and you'd think that it would feel so good to receive that kind of love from people. But here's the irony. I don't even like the item. And in that moment, I just took a beat to pause and think about how often do we, especially as highly sensitive women, show up in ways that look like, quote, us on the outside, but deep down feel completely out of sync. Whether it's the clothes that we wear or the food that we eat or the activities that we choose, maybe it's our goals, our professions, whatever it is, how many parts of your life that are on display and the world thinks they fit you, but they don't. We've gotten so good at pretending and people-pleasing and deferring to others, that things that look like they belong to us or that we enjoy them and consequently what other people perceive belong to us don't actually fit at all. And today I really want to talk about what it means to become who you've always been before all of that pleasing and pretending and performance came into play. Because it's really not about discovering someone new. It's about remembering someone real. I want you to just let that sink in for a minute. Remembering someone real. Who you used to be before the pleasing and the pretending and the performance took over. I get it. As a highly sensitive woman, we are wired to notice. We notice the shifts in people's tone and their unmet needs, or like the tiniest micro facial expression. So we adapt and anticipate and we accommodate others really well. And while that could be a gift, it also can come at a pretty big cost. And that cost is often the disappearance of ourselves. And before we know it, we are looking in the mirror and we're like, I don't even know who this woman is. I know for me, I learned how to blend in really, really well and avoid being too much or not enough and keep the peace. And that looks very polished on the outside, but it also feels very hollow on the inside. And oftentimes the version of you that people love so very much, it doesn't actually feel like you at all. So if this resonates and you're like, yep, I know exactly what that looks like, I do it too, then I want to walk you through a few gentle, practical ways to reconnect with who you truly are underneath all of those layers of expectation. So number one, sometimes it can be really hard to name what we do like because maybe we've never done it, but if we have, it's been a really, really long time because we've been deferring to others for so long. So let's start with something maybe a little bit easier and making a list of what I don't like. Maybe there's a certain style of clothing, right, that just feels wrong when you put it on your body. Or, maybe there's a food that you eat because someone else likes it and you actually really hate it. Maybe you do activities that drain you to the point of being completely depleted, but you feel like you should do it because it, quote, should be fun. Making this not me list, it doesn't have to be some big revolutionary thing, just starting small and adding to it as things come to mind. Just what doesn't feel like you that others might assume is a very good descriptor of something that you like. This can start to create some clarity and some space to start filling in and recognizing what it is that you do like. Because if you have filled your mind and your hours and your days with doing things for other people or being a certain way for other people, your brain, your time, there is no space for what belongs to you. But when you start making that list of, I don't particularly like this thing, I don't like that style, I don't like that food, it creates the space for you to start filling it in with the things that you do like. Number 2 is creating some awareness and noticing when you are performing. There is this very subtle moment that happens right before your people pleasing kicks in. And there's this quick inner shift where we start to perform. Maybe it is that you notice a shift in the tone of your voice. It's subtle, but it's there. Or you agree with something that you don't actually believe. Just start noticing those moments and asking yourself some questions. Am I doing this for connection, or is it to avoid discomfort? And another thing to ponder, if no one was watching, would I still choose this thing? Or am I only doing it because essentially I have an audience? It may be an audience of one, but still, you have an audience. Someone is watching. So an example from my own life of something that happened recently, I was meeting someone for the first time for coffee, and the other person offered 9 a.m. And there is an old version of me who would have immediately agreed, even though I did not want to meet at 9 a.m. And even now, there was a part of me that paused to consider because I wanted to be agreeable, essentially. But instead, I responded with, how about 10 a.m.? You'll get a much better version of me at that hour. And that felt amazing. It felt amazing to offer a time that was more reasonable for me and to be very honest about why I was offering that time. But it also set this other person up to know not really much of a morning person. And so you should probably know that up front, right? Here's the irony. The other person is also not a morning person and offered 9 a.m. thinking that that would make a good impression on me. And it almost backfired because there was a part of me that thought, oh goodness, yeah, this is not going to work. Anyhow, after some back and forth, we landed on 11 a.m. and had a great time. But reflecting on these moments where you find yourself kind of being on or saying or doing things for some approval, just starting to have that awareness allows for a shift to start happening and asking, is this something that I really want to do, or am I saying yes or doing it because it is expected of me, or you think that it is expected of you? In my example, I thought it was expected of me, and it turns out, nope, my honesty ended up benefiting both of us. Tip number 3 is tune into the wisdom of your body. I know I have talked about this a lot, but your body is always, always, always speaking to you. And often it knows the answer before your mind can catch up and realize what the answer is. And even when your mind is in this tangled mess of all of the shoulds and supposed tos and all of the other scripts that we have been running through our brains and following our whole lives, our bodies tend to know the truth. So before you need to make a decision, kind of tapping into your body and questioning if it feels like an expansion, and that usually feels pretty good, like you are stepping into your full self, like you are taking up space, this expansion, or if you are agreeing to this thing, does it feel like you are shrinking and contracting and making yourself small to accommodate this other person or this activity? Is there some tension or ease in the decision? Are you making this decision from a place of pressure or a place of peace? Because so often we override our own instincts out of fear of letting others down, and we just have this immense pressure on us that we don't want to disappoint them. But our bodies don't lie. And so when you start tapping into the small reactions that your body is having, and you do it consistently, time after time after time, you start to rebuild trust with yourself and really tap into what is true for you and who you have always been, and you start returning to that person. And tip number 4 is reconnect with forgotten joys or forgotten sources of pleasure. I recently did several things, one of which was I went to Dave & Buster's, and I was just a big kid, and I played Hungry Hungry Hippos in a very different way. That was a game that I played as a child in the board game, and if you are a child around 70s, 80s, when you were born, you have a really good idea of what this game is, and if you don't, you should check it out. But Dave & Buster's has a life-size version of this where you get to sit on the hippo and you get to pull on this lever to capture the balls, and I had so much fun and laughed, and it felt so good to reconnect with that child version of myself and kind of some forgotten joys or, source of pleasure. So if you can kind of think back to who you were before you learned to perform and before other people's opinions started to kind of shape your world and how you moved through the world. What lit you up when you were a child or a teen, or what did you do simply because it just made you feel good and alive and full of joy? And it doesn't have to be something that you turn into a career. We get all of this messaging of find something that you love and do it, and never feel like you worked a day in your life. I actually would kind of discourage that a little bit. I would say tap into something that you can do just for the pleasure of doing it. And, maybe it's painting, maybe it's dancing, maybe it's, spending some time in nature. But just follow whatever kind of spark or ignites in you, and then explore that thing with just curiosity, like absolutely no agenda, just curiosity to see what happens as you start to pursue this activity and reconnect with something that used to bring you a lot of joy. And these little moments help to restore your inner compass. I kind of like to think about it as like an old classic car, and it was beautiful when it was first made, and it was exactly the way that it was intended to be and designed by its creator. And then over time, things happened to it, and it lost its shine and its paint, and maybe it has some tears in its leather on the seats, and maybe the dash, is cracked, and, we can all picture what happens to an old classic car, and then we know what it looks like when it gets restored to its original state. And that is what we are trying to do here. We are trying to restore you back to your original state, the way that you were created to be by your maker before all of the messaging and the pleasing and the performance took over. And I want to leave you with this thought that you were never lost. You were just layered. And underneath all of that people pleasing and pretending and perfectly curated image, there is someone who is deeply, deeply real. And she may be quiet right now. My inner person was silent for years and years and years. But I promise you, she is still in there. She was still in there for me, and it took her a really long time to find her way, but she is in there for you, and you can help her find her way back out to becoming who you've always been. And it's not about adding more, it's about peeling back those layers and getting down to the core of who you are deep down inside and what she wants and what she likes and what she desires. So today I offer you a challenge to choose one small act of alignment, one no, maybe one yes. Doesn't really matter. Just let it be one honest moment and ask yourself, if no one else had an opinion, if no one else got to weigh in on this, what would I choose? You don't have to figure it all out. We're just trying to come back to you one truth at a time. And I don't know about you, but I am so excited to see who you are at your core. And when you let that person out, I just am elated to see who she is and to meet her. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who may be feeling like she's broken too? I'd love it if you'd leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. It brings me so much joy to know this podcast is helping you. Now it's time for me to stop talking and go soothe my senses in nature. I'll meet you back here next week for another episode. Take care.